Welcome to the Made for Agriculture podcast with Adam, Cameron, and Emily. Today's hosts are Adam Jones and Cameron Horan.
All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Made for Agriculture podcast. My name's Adam Jones. Got my wily co-host Cameron Horan on with us this morning. Morning, Cameron.
Morning.
And all the rest. And I'm good. All the rest of our agronomists, Jesse, Scott, Shannon, and Kevin. Morning, fellas. Appreciate you taking the time to jump on here this morning. So, morning. So it's June 7th. Just had to make sure I got my date there right. Seems like it's flying by on us this year. But we're going to do a quick kind of crop update. We'll kind of run through each of our major crops and let these guys kind of weigh in on what they're seeing out there, what management actions that we need to be taking, in the near future here. So let's start with wheat real quick. Shannon, as our resident wheat expert, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So, don't know if I have much of an update for wheat. It's been like a broken record here the last few weeks. We're still wet. Field conditions still just aren't allowing us to get the combines in the field yet. There is wheat ready. It's over the last couple of weeks. It's turned really quick with the heat and unfortunately, just because of the excess moisture, it's just kind of dying off in places. We do have some wheat that has gone down due to the storms, and it's going to be a little bit more challenged to get picked up. Probably not going to be the quickest to dry out and be ready to go, but as soon as we can get in there, we need to get in there, or else we can start having some issues. One big thing, once wheat does get harvested, the next thing to look at is kind of what does our weed management look like going into soybeans? Because we do a lot of double crop in our area. A lot of these fields, the last thing I was put on was a herbicide that was put on back in, February, early March. And so all this rain, pigweeds have broke. Be prepared to be battling some cutoff pigweeds. Kind of my go-to recommendation when we do have a situation like that is to go in with like a gramoxone metribuzin application, a gramoxone boundary, something like that. That seems to be the better product compared to like a Liberty Enlist or Liberty Extend, depending on which platform you're going to. Just seems to do a better job getting those cutoff pigweeds with all those extra growing points that are on those weeds. That's really the biggest thing I'm starting to look at is, okay, this wheat's done. What's our next crop look like? Let's make sure we're starting out on the right foot, so we're not battling those later on in season.
Yeah, I think all the excess moisture could make some of the wheat harvest challenging, but provides a little better outlook for that second soybean crop for sure. So killing those weeds important. Kevin, Scott, Jesse, you guys got anything else to add wheat-wise?
What do you think about the quality, Shannon, AB, since we've been wet?
It's gonna be tough to tell. There's one thing that's got me intrigued. We haven't really had a year like this since Mirabis Aces came on the market, where we've been this wet this long. Typically, when we have a wet spell like this, extended wet spell, grain quality starts to go backwards due to it. We start losing some test weight. Yields tend to decrease. I'm interested to see what does that fungicide do for us. Does that help us hold on a little bit longer than what we've had, the prior, past decade? I do think we've lost a little bit, but as far as how much, it's hard to say at this point.
Are you all seeing much scab, Shannon, just in what you're seeing, looking at in the field?
Not really much scab, no. More or less, I think test weight's going to be the bigger impact.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm sure once we kind of catch a dry spell here, just looking at maturity wise, it's going to go pretty fast. So appreciate that, Shannon. Let's move on to corn. I think we finally got caught up on some of our early planting delays. So Kevin, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So last time we all got together, it was up in the north region anyways. It was raining, and we did have quite a bit of corn planted that first half of April, and it was the get close to the second half of May before we were able to get finished up. But everybody's got their corn in now. That earlier planted stuff's about V9, V10, around in there. Some stuff. I was in some stuff that was some chest high, and then we've got the later planted stuff. With the warm temperatures, it came up pretty quick. So we're able to get it planted and get it out of the ground, and it's trying to catch up. But then we're able to get caught up on field work on corn. We got our herbicides on, and we're able to stay on label on a lot of stuff. Just kind of getting the timing right on everything. Being able to prioritize fields, and it was tricky, but I think we got everything done safely in the way we needed to get it done. Top dress has been going on now. That earlier planted corn, it's time for time has been time for that in-crop nitrogen application. We've been using our Adapt-In tool, or Nutri-Trak-In tool, which is powered by Adapt-In, and been making those recommendations. That's been helping us make those recommendations for those top dress applications. So we're able to put those nutrients on right where they need it. We are seeing some diseases show up pretty early with these wet conditions. A gray leaf spot. We've got some northern corn leaf blight reported. When we're, generally we're always going to, this is a conversation we always have sometimes we'll have some odd years where these diseases do show up early. I would say in a normal year, we don't really see them until our corn is tasseling or getting close to tassel, and that's the time we recommend that putting that fungicide on. Well, that recommendation is going to stay the same when those diseases show up early as well. Our hybrid corn in general is going to be able to defend itself against most diseases while it's in the vegetative stages. It's when it switches to the reproductive stages, it's putting its energy into pollination, and it's putting its energy into putting those silks out, and then getting ready to make grain. So kind of lets up its defenses then, and that's why we still, even if the disease is present early, we're still waiting until tassel to make that recommendation and application. Kind of covered a lot of different things pretty quick there.
No, you definitely did, Kevin. Yeah, we've progressed along fairly quickly on this later planted corn. I think, I guess looking at the stuff that got planted after the rain, kind of versus the stuff before the rain, I mean, I see pretty good yield potential in both. I mean, do you kind of share those comments? I mean, a lot of this later planted corn, you just really couldn't ask for a better stand than what we got.
Yeah, that's an advantage that we see. We see that nice even stand. Everything came up evenly. It's growing quick. We've got a lot of growing degree units, since that late stuff was planted. So it will not take it long to put some collars on pretty quick. When planting is delayed, corn will kind of adjust to where it needs less growing degree units to maturity. So kind of helps it catch up there. In the past, we've had corn planted in the month of June that's done very, very well. So I don't really have any concerns. The main concern when you get into June is if, the chance that we do see an early frost before that corn black layers. It can happen in June planting, but a lot of times it tends to catch up and get to that black layer before that frost hits. But
yeah, absolutely.
That we'll have to just wait and see. But I think it's growing quick enough now. I think we're, unless we just have a freak event, that we're probably going to be okay.
No, I'm with you. I feel really good about even that later planted corn because it for the most part wasn't June. I think a lot of it went in that May 16th to 20th range, and I mean it just looks really nice. But all right, sounds good. Well, let's move on to soybeans. Scott, I'm going to throw it down to you on that and tell us what's going on.
Well, our beans are ranging anywhere from just being planted all the way up to probably R6, 7 is, or V6, V7, sorry, is catching a lot of that. Well, we really rushed ahead if we were to R6. So a lot of range there. Lot of herbicides being applied over the last few days. One thing that, over the last couple of weeks, I guess, since we spoke last, one thing I just kind of thought about last night, just as I'm talking to guys and we're talking about different mixes, talking to our folks at the stores and producers that I speak with. Last year in particular was a tough year for residuals, but just dry, not getting the rain and also not having the soil moisture just to keep those in solution. But it seems like for the most part, people are kind of staying the course and using them like they should be. So I guess hats off to everybody on that. It's tough when you make an investment and you don't see the return on it. But I think people are hearing the message and realizing that we're running out of options, and that's one we got to absolutely stay with, even when it doesn't do what we'd like it to. So again, just compliments to everybody that's staying the course on that. As far as anything going on in particular with the beans, we found our first Japanese beetles this week. That's become a little bit of a thing you watch for every year. Molly Teese, our student worker over in part of Missouri, found some early part of the week, and then Trent out in River Valley and Sam down in West Central found some as well. So they're back. They haven't been as much of an issue the last year or two. Now there are pockets where they've still been pretty intense, but the course that they seem to run as they've moved from east to west is they move into an area they have absolutely no natural predators, and their populations are just allowed to go crazy. What we were kind of told, 5, 6, 7 years, you'll start to see some of these predators build up. There's some parasitic wasps that work on the grubs. There's some things that work on the adults even. I think maybe we're starting to see some of that. No promises there, but hopefully it's not going to be near the event that it was when they first rolled into areas. With that, we this is where we do really try to get folks to look at a diagram of leaf loss and realizing a lot of cases it may be more dramatic than what it's actually causing. So there are a lot of fields where we will go ahead and take the opportunity if we're making a pass to try to clean some of those up. But it's rare, it seems, that we're going into a field just for that anymore. And we did some of that the first few years. Part of that was learning it, but it was also the pressure was just that much stronger at the beginning. Let's say the other probably major call I've had on soybeans this week, and fortunately it doesn't affect a large percentage of acres, but there are quite a few growers that are dealing with it, is just with the rains, which obviously we're very thankful for, but some of the cover crops, cereal rye in particular, got away from folks. We went in and in most cases, folks planted that green. I think we spoke about that on last podcast. And that worked out very well, but where they did not get a stand, now we're struggling with going back into those fields, and now we have some of that laid over. Getting a lot of calls about slugs working on soybeans, and some fields that are going to have to be replanted due to that, and just poor emergence. So, we've spoke about the positives of cover crops, and I stand by that. I've seen it firsthand, and absolutely, like I say, stand by that, and think that they're positive, particularly on certain soils and certain topographies. But this is one of the things you deal with. So we are dealing with that a little bit this year. I think, unless I'm missing something, that I think that's about it for right now.
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott. What a difference a year makes. I'm pretty sure if we'd have looked up June podcast from last year, we'd have been talking about spider mites, and not activating residual herbicides and things like that. So, it's been kind of a turnaround, to some of your defoliation things too. It's, we don't worry about that as much, I guess, when we've got soil moisture as well to keep those plants growing. Makes a big difference. You worry about it more when it hasn't rained in 3.5 weeks or whatever. So, but absolutely. So now it's good to get those residual herbicides active and don't have near as many concerns about that this time around. Jesse, you got anything you want to add for boot heel, corn, or beans, or you can tell us about all your weird crops down there too?
Just a couple things on beans real quick.
Sure.
Shannon, I did hear there's finding rust in Louisiana, so I don't know if you heard anything from Texas or anything that we may want to talk about, because this corn's coming on fast. I mean, I got some tasseling, and we'll be putting stuff on next week.
Yeah, I heard the reports there in the Mississippi Delta there, northern Louisiana, starting to see rust. So far, storms have been coming from the north and the northwest. So when those winds from the south, then we start maybe get a hurricane or something blown up, that's whenever I start worrying about southern rust moving up a lot. But something we're definitely, it's already on the radar. Cheston, Stacy, he found common rust late last week. So rust, we have the environment for rust development. We just need the pathogen here. And as everyone knows, southern rust blows in. So once it gets here, we've got the moisture, we've got the weather for it.
And then three of us were at a meeting this week, and they talked about hurricanes maybe more active like this summer. So just kind of get it on everybody's radar.
Yeah, I'd say if you made a forecast for southern rust, this would probably be a year that would pop off the page to you. So it's probably something to be watching for.
Especially on that late planted corn. Any corn that had to get planted late or replanted, that's the stuff we're really worried about.
Yeah. And then beans, I've got several calls this week about fungicide just because these beans are growing off so fast. I've got some that are pushing that RR3, but my thoughts are, and what I want to get out there is, like, a lot of these beans, even early, they would swap back and forth from R1 to R2 a couple different times before they ever got to R3. So my mind is I think they're going to keep doing that, swap from R3 to R2. So I'm kind of holding guys off for a couple of weeks just to keep an eye on them, because we don't want to get that out there too early, and then these beans grow another foot. Just so our Maris top can do the best it can. So just, it may not be so bad for some of y'all, but for me, I've just had a lot of questions this week.
We're running into that as well. And I mean, we're still, what is today? 7th. I mean, we're still 2 weeks away from summer, and what that means to a soybean is that's the shortest night of the year. And then after that, the nights start getting longer. And those beans that have went in this early, that have already picked up on that night length, they've already seen kind of that same period. They've started going through these motions. But as we near summer, a lot of that should slow down and then pick up again when it gets to that normal phase on the backside. And we dealt with this a little bit last year because we had so many early beans. And I think the general consensus is, as far as fungicide goes, absent disease that's present in the moment that we're timing just because of the disease. But if we're doing the late R2, R3 fungicide that we've done for so long, I think the consensus is we wait until the backside of that and hit it at that normal timing. But knowing that, a lot of times, especially when we have later planted beans, and by later, I mean beans that are, planted, well, the beans that were planted just right now, the chances of those being up and having trifoliates, which is necessary for them to recognize length of night, and having that all happen prior to summer is probably not going to be the case. So when they get on the backside of that, we may see them race through, R1 to R2 to R3 very fast. These earlier beans, we will surely get to R2, but we will probably spend a lot more time there, as opposed to just going through the each stage very, very quickly. So just, a lot of phone calls on that. And then as I've kind of asked around, and we had, like I said, we had to do it last year, pretty much the consensus, and including from the folks that are selling the fungicide, is keep your powder dry and wait another few weeks anyway.
But and then so my random crops is weird crops, as Jones says. We're pretty well done planting rice, cotton, peanuts. Like it's all on the ground up. The biggest struggle is some pockets with rice. It's just been too wet for them to get out there and get stuff done timely, get stuff done right with their herbicides and fertilizers. But then we got the other extreme, like Northeast Arkansas, that's been a little bit drier, and they've had rice underwater for 2 weeks. They're putting their mid-season on. Rice is looking really, really good this year. In the cotton, we had a lot of thrips. Been a lot of herbicide insecticide applications going out, just trying to keep them beat back. But cotton's not. I mean, it's warm, but it's not the nice hot dry weather like we need for cotton to really take off and grow. So it's just kind of sitting there struggling, and you're having to spray it, and then they're putting herbicide applications on top of it, and just kind of beating that cotton up. And then we need 2 weeks of hot dry weather for the cotton to really take off and do something. Peanuts, I'm not seeing as many acres of peanuts. Granted, I don't get out and just drive around as much as what I used to, but I seen some yesterday, and they're up and they look good. But that's one thing I don't keep up with as much as what I used to either. So, but that's just kind of, we're sitting here in a good spot for the southern half of D10. Now the northern half's a different spot. We still got several acres that aren't even planted yet. It's just crazy, the extreme. It kind of swaps right here about where I live. So each direction I go, I see it firsthand.
Sure. Good stuff, Jesse. Appreciate your whatever I said before. Weird crop update. So, no, I call them weird crops, but we all like hearing about it because it's something different for us. So we appreciate the updates. Cameron, Scott, Kevin, Jesse, Shannon, you guys got anything else you want to cover before we knock off for the week here?
Well, they found tar spot in northeast Kansas this past week, I guess.
Really?
So I don't think they've confirmed it in Missouri yet, but it's probably somewhere and just waiting to be found.
Sure. Oh, there's no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean that, unless they're way, way ahead of us, which I wouldn't think so, growing stage wise, that would be on fairly young corn, I guess. Be the only thing of note.
They said it was low levels. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
Oh, northeast. That northeast Kansas is going to kind of butt up to, northwest Missouri. There was some corn planted pretty early. Some of the biggest corn I've been in's been around the St. Joe area. That's where, I got such shoulder high stuff. So I just assuming that it's a similar stage over northeast Kansas, but who knows? There could have been some planted later there too.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, good stuff, guys. I appreciate all the updates. Again, I appreciate your time for jumping on here this morning. Thanks also to everybody listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Made for Agriculture podcast, brought to you by MFA, your whole farm solution.